And this is Castrol Motorvation 98.
Good afternoon and welcome to Castrol Motorvation 98. I'm Frank Hastings and joining me is Stuart Bond. Well, Stuart, Castrol Motorvation 98, what a spectacle. I didn't think it could be bigger than Castrol Motorvation 97, but it certainly was.
Castrol Motorvation has become one of the premier street machine and hot rod shows in Australia, with the driving events and everything that happens outside balanced by 200 vehicles on display inside the dome. It is absolutely incredible. We have the best street machines in Western Australia, and some of the cars are just remarkable. Many different classes and categories of cars too, Frank. You've got fully restored muscle cars, hot rods and street machines that are wild creations, and also race cars on display for people who may never get a chance to get up close to these machines.
I think the variety in this year's Castrol Motorvation 98 is bigger and better than I've ever seen. As you said, the different styles of cars, but a lot of new stuff we haven't seen before, and I think that's what made the show so interesting.
Well, now people are actually spending a full year preparing themselves, building a car specifically to go into this car show. We even have cars coming over from the eastern states, and this year, off his own bat, an entrant from New South Wales bringing a vehicle to Western Australia that we've never seen here before. It's been an absolute pleasure introducing all these racers and car builders to each other. And to find out who has the most powerful cars, we've even had the opportunity to put them on a dyno inside the dome, and the dyno shootout has really been a feature.
Stu, you talked about an eastern states entrant, of course, Victor Bray, an eastern stater that needs no introduction. Great to see him come back for Castrol Motorvation 98.
Victor absolutely loves these car shows. He loves getting close to his fans, and there are a lot of people who aren't Victor Bray fans until they meet him. I mean, not everyone's a drag racing fan, but as soon as they meet the big fella, they absolutely fall in love with him, and that is no underestimation. Victor always has a crowd around him, and he works with the crowd so very, very well, and hopefully we can get Victor to bring his wife Marie's 57 Chev over and show us what an American street machine looks like, a car they picked up in LA, and I believe that is awesome.
A group of students from the Rockingham Senior High School building not only a 4-cylinder engine this year, but introducing a 6-cylinder engine. And once again, it was very exciting the way these kids work, the teamwork, the morale building, and just the general way they went about preparing themselves to build this engine in a record time of 6 minutes.
They're doing an absolutely tremendous job. The Year 10s last year have taken on 2 more cylinders, working in Year 11 and building the Ford 6, and a brand new group of Year 10s led by a young lady, and they're taking on the task of building the 4, and they want to build that in 4 minutes flat. The traders inside the dome, a chance for people to find people who talk their language. If you want to talk about a hot engine or a reconditioned engine, if you want to talk about auto trim, if you want to talk about paint for your car, you can find these people inside the dome. And of course, the sound wall at the back of the dome, all the big boom boxes, and this is a trend that a lot of people are following in car modification. They're doing a tremendous amount of detail on the interior, leaving the exterior very, very standard, and that is also reducing the security risk with owning these cars.
One of the beauties of it is that if you wanted to put something into your car, be it accessories, performance equipment, you don't have to drive around to all the shops. You come to Castrol Motorvation 98 and all the traders are there, all the expertise is there, and they can give you the technical information that you need and talk to them, and then go back to their workshops at a later date and pick it all up.
Well, you talk to the public and they're wandering around inside the dome getting all the advice and the best price. When they go outside, they see the driving events and, of course, the ultimate burnout competition. It's all here at the Burswood Dome.
Join us after the break for more of Castrol Motorvation 98.
Chance for all competitors to find out what sort of horsepower their car can produce.
That's right, Stu. Danny Williams from Powerhouse Performance was on hand with the Dyno Dynamics chassis dyno. We caught up with him to find out just what are the advantages of dyno testing your car. Welcome to Castrol Motorvation. You've had a great show so far. Tell us about the advantages of dyno tuning a vehicle.
Okay, one of the things when you tune a vehicle in a workshop, you need to be able to relate to what happens on the road. With a dyno, you can actually simulate this because it's a rolling road, and a computer can control the load on and off those dyno rollers. So therefore you can simulate any driving application that you want to bring in. Quite often you'll find that you'll have a problem and you take it to a mechanic and you'll try to explain to him, and it makes it very difficult. But if he can put it on a dyno, drive the thing into the area that he's got the problem, there you can, once and for all, show him exactly what the problem is.
And the analysis is done on a computer, so you're watching a screen all the time, you're getting a readout, you can tell whether the car's breaking down, running too rich, running too lean, and all the technical aspects of a vehicle that make it perform and run better.
In conjunction with a lot of different sensors that sense all different types of things from the car, plus the operators and their use of the dynos and being able to read into what the different problems are, yes, you can end up knowing exactly what your problems are.
The horsepower itself is measured at the back wheels, is which where the drive is on the road?
Correct. What we've got here is what we call a chassis dyno. Chassis dynos are measuring your effort at the wheels. It's not measuring at the engine itself.
We had a vehicle on the dyno yesterday where the fuel mixture was way too rich. You said that was on the screen. What do they do to rectify that?
Okay, one of the things we have, or one of the capabilities with the dyno, is the high-speed air-fuel ratio meter. It's measuring the air-fuel ratio at the exhaust, so you can see exactly what that mixture's like. As a lot of people would know, poor mixtures or lean mixtures can be very detrimental to an engine, but the car that we were talking about yesterday, John Perrone's Charger, was running very rich. Now, if it's running rich, it's not getting full horsepower, so what he's going to do today, he's going to retune that thing, take a bit of fuel out of it, and we're going to run this thing again tomorrow, and we'll probably find that there'll be a good 10% rise in performance.
I guess it depends on what the problem is with the vehicle, but can you tune the vehicle on the dyno tuner, leave it on there, make the modifications and then run it up to speed again and see if you've rectified the problem?
Most applications, that's how you do it. In a workshop situation, everything's done on the dyno, so you roll it on, dyno test it to start with, make your analysis, make your modifications, do the test, get the new power rating, drive it off and drive it home.
Danny, we've seen a variety of vehicles on this particular machine here at Castrol Motorvation 98. I guess there's a variety of different machines for all types of applications as well.
There's a huge range. You can do anything from little 4-cylinders, front-wheel drives, you can do trucks, you can do 4-wheel drives. This here is only a 2-wheel drive dyno, but there is 4-wheel drive dynos. There's huge truck chassis dynos, there's engine dynos, boat dynos, anything you want to name, go-kart dynos. They're a range for everything.
Frank, following a session on the Powerhouse Performance Dyno Dynamics Dyno, our entrants have got an opportunity to enter the driving events. This takes them outside on Saturday, Sunday or Monday afternoon in the car parks next to the Burswood Dome. And as Gillian McKinley is showing us with her little mini minor she calls the Meanie, it is an event that involves a lot of driving skill, a little bit of luck, but patience and confidence mainly.
It is indeed, Stu. And looking at the events that are run, the different vehicles, the different type of vehicles we'll be seeing out all have different events and favourite events that they want to go into. This particular vehicle, being so small, is ideal for getting in and out of those garages, and Gillian doing a great job at this stage.
More at Motorvation.
With the intention of Motorvation being a display of people's customising and modification skills, it is great to see that these modifications and customisations of the vehicles that we see on our streets improve the vehicles when they come out into these events. It's very important that the engineering skills, the mechanical skills, and also the adaptations that are done to these vehicles are well balanced. And in the Spearer Spud, a new skill comes in, and that is communication between the spearer, who is the passenger, and the driver, who must get as close as possible to the tyres with the potatoes, Frank.
Different vehicles for different jobs, and this one is ideal for this job. The driver's got to drive the car in as close as he can. The passenger must lean out, grab one of the potatoes, put it in the vehicle. The same rules apply. You're not allowed to touch any of the signs, and this vehicle well suited to this particular event.
Well, this is also an excellent demonstration of choosing your speed and choosing your consequence. If he goes into the garage too fast, this driver will not put the passenger in the best position to collect the spud in a hurry, so they will not be able to make it out quickly and up to the next garage. And we're looking at a record run here, and this was the winning combination for the Spearer Spud.
Well, the driver getting in there very quick, the passenger having a little bit of trouble picking up the spuds that time, but heads for the finish line, runs through with a good time, and the Mini Moat ideally suited for that application.
Serious intent. An event that reaches back into the dark days of hot rodding for car modifiers is the slalom. This is proof that the new engine, the new diff, the new gearbox and the new steering and brakes on the vehicle are all well balanced, and the vehicle is going to perform well around a very, very tight course.
Well, the vehicles must go up the course without touching the cones. U-turn at the top end. A little bit of smoke from the ute that time. As he heads back down, they really do, Stu. Very, very careful driving to get through without touching, and that is what we call the slalom event.
Excellent run. The Go Woe was the grandfather of drag racing as we know it, and this is Joe DeFaria with his record run. This is the winner, and Frank, look at that. Right on the line.
Time.
Absolutely well balanced and perfect choice of speed. Well, you can see when people don't choose their speed terribly well, the Go Woe is almost impossible to get a good time on, Frank. They'll either boil the tyres and not get going, or sometimes when they're going really well, they just won't woe at the top end.
Choose your speed and choose your consequences.
Well, the crowd love it. No matter what, no matter how anyone performed, the crowd really gave them a big cheer. And the Mini Moke, of course, to a big V8 crowd, this was an anathema. They decided in the end that it was performing so well, they'd really put their hands together for it. The Moke overshot the line, backed it up, had an excellent view, and got in there for a reasonably quick time. Handbrake around the top end, showing off a little bit of rally skill.
Well, Stu, this is day one of the burnout competitions, and one vehicle showed that it can do it with the front wheels as well.
Well, it's pretty unusual for us to have a front wheeler. I think this is the first front wheel drive we've ever seen in the burnout comp, and it was a great effort from him. Jammed that handbrake on hard, and away he went. Once again, the crowd were very generous. For the burnout comp this year, a very unusual format. We had Saturday and Sunday events with the best four chosen by the crowd in the great final on Monday, and it was absolutely enormous. We had everything, a front wheel drive, a Mazda rotary, of course lots of V8s, some 6 cylinders, and a big event all round.
One doing it in reverse there, the Mazda RX-7, and here it is, one of the Fords. The big Falcon with a monster burnout, and the Ford fans in the stand absolutely love it. Look at that smoke.
Well, the V8 guys showed the rotary boys and the 4-cylinder racers, the 6-cylinder guys, exactly how to do a big burnout. I'm sure we'll see improvement from them, but the crowd simply love their V8s.
Next on Castrol Motivation, building a 6-cylinder in 6 minutes.
School assembling a 4-cylinder motor in just over 4 minutes.
Well, this year they've set their sights on a 6-cylinder motor, and the time they're aiming for is an amazing 6 minutes.
It's really exciting, Frank. The program is growing. The Year 10 students last year are now in Year 11 working on the 6-cylinder. We have a brand new group of Year 10 students and 2 young ladies leading the team, and they're building the 4-cylinder overhead cam Ford engine. Last year's record was an amazing 3 minutes and 38 seconds, with 4 minutes as the goal for this brand new Year 10 team. I really believe that they are going to achieve some excellent things.
Not only excellent trade skills, but teamwork and morale building. As they go about the job, you'll notice not a word of communication. Every person has the job to do, and they go about doing their own job without instructing anyone else. You can see the bottom end of the engine being put together there now. The pistons are in. 2 people working, the oil filter going on, so they really work hard. Meanwhile, Stu, someone's putting their head together in a separate part of the operation.
It's very important. It gives them confidence in their own skills, but also confidence that if they do operate as a team, the project will come together. It gives them planning and it gives them execution practice, and this is just about everything everyone needs to have good life skills. Watching them very carefully, you can see they not only follow their own task, they're constantly monitoring the position everyone else is in. The engine is speed braced up and then torqued, so it can be started without any danger to these guys, and they work very hard to ensure that the right tool is in the right place and they are ready to perform each task. The engines are on a cradle that tips it over so they can get at the bottom end rather easily. Once the bottom end person has finished tensioning all the pistons and rods into place, they'll release the cradle, flip the engine around, and then they'll be ready to put the top end on. In the meantime, with 50% more to do, the 6-cylinder team have given themselves only 50% more time, and they really believe they can build this engine in under 6 minutes.
Looking pretty good at this stage. The teamwork and the way they go about their job is indeed a credit to these kids from the Rockingham Senior High School.
Well, the 6-cylinder Ford is a much harder engine to build. Being a pushrod engine, they need to set the tappets before they fire the engine or they could cause damage, and they take it very seriously. Everything on the engine is set to the correct clearances. While the engines may not run oil, they're pre-lubed and they will start and run for a brief 2 or 3 seconds just to ensure that the engines are definitely able to run.
Well, that's the important thing. The time does not stop until the engine fires, so they've got to make sure that everything is in its place and everything is doing the right job. As
the 4-cylinder has swung around now. I think you were going to say, Frank, the head is about to go on, and two members of the team lift it into place. They use head studs to guide the head onto the gasket and then bolts to torque the head down. So they've really thought about this once again. The execution of the impossible. It's very hard to line things up. So use studs to drop the head into place and then use bolts to torque it down to ensure that the engine is going to start.
Timing belts going on the front end, so every person doing the job that they're intended to do around the bottom end. The head studs, as you said, are in and being tightened down now. And looking at it, they could be on a record time here. The timing belt goes on and is pushed away in place.
This is absolutely remarkable work for 15 and 16-year-old Year 10 students. Starting Year 10 this year at Rockingham Senior High School, they've taken to this like a duck to water. They watched the Year 10s last year doing a little bit. They were helping out every now and then, but really for them to take the opportunity to run this team by themselves, I think is really, really creditable, and they deserve a great pat on the back.
Getting very close now. The battery's been put on. The key is out of the ignition switch while this is happening for safety reasons. And you'll notice very soon as they tension it all down, someone will grab the key, put it in the slot, and they will attempt to fire the engine.
Last thing they do before they fire is prime the carby. They've got a fuel pump on there which is already primed. They'll prime the carby, and once they have that, the distributor cap is going on now. The timing is set on the overhead cam engine to predetermined points. It saves them a little bit of time there. But once the plug leads are in place, the carby is primed. They are ready to press the ignition, and they are in action.
Almost there now. It's checking that the firing order is right on the vehicle, getting it out of the road of the rocket gear.
They're running now.
Good start.
An incredible 4 minutes from the Year 10 students at Rockingham Senior High School. But while they're celebrating, the Year 11 students are still working on this push-rate cylinder Ford engine. The crowd very, very generous with their applause, and I believe they are absolutely amazed at the precision that these students are showing. Setting the tappets on this six-cylinder now, and this is a job that can take ages.
This is the time-consuming part of this job. They've got to get this right, but they're doing pretty well. As you said, 50% more engine, 2 more cylinders, but these guys are going about it with consummate ease at this stage, making sure that everything is okay. The top end appears as though it's okay, just making sure that the coil is bolted in place there.
Well, everything that can come off a block comes out of these engines except the crank. They start with the crank in there, and in this case with a cam on board, and then everything else must be bolted to the vehicle to make it start. This is a tremendous effort from them. The key is in the ignition. They will get the signal to turn the ignition and go for start. Just on 6 minutes now, and have we got life?
No, I think it fired and then stalled against you, so it must run.
The fuel bubbles in the fuel line coming up. They didn't prime the fuel pump. You can see the air bubbles coming up to the carby. A little bit of a problem there. The team are working on it. They're well aware of the problem.
No panic, and it's fired. Next on Castrol Motorvation 98, day 2 of the driving events. Day 2 of the driving events, and one of your favourite cars out there, it's a Ford.
It's another mighty Ford. The big V8 Falcons are always popular, but as I must admit, the Chevy's just a little bit more popular than the Falcon. I don't know why. Hey, these Falcons come in everything, including pink. This is the motor car, and not choosing his speed out of that gate terribly well and finding himself all jammed up trying to get into the next one is this Falcon.
Respect Yourself driving events are great here at Castrol Motorvation 98, and joining me now is Andrew Solder from Roadwise. Andrew, welcome to Castrol Motorvation 98. Tell us a little bit about Roadwise.
Okay, Roadwise, Frank, is the local government road safety strategy, and what that means is we work through councils to involve all of the community, the various interested police, ambulance, service station owners, right across the whole community throughout the state to try and keep people alive, help keep our cars safe and on the road, and just help save lives throughout the state.
You're talking all the issues, I guess, speed, drink driving, and all those other issues that are killing Western Australians and Australians.
Yep, all of the issues, everything from the choose your speed, choose your consequences message today, through to drink driving, road design, obviously things that affect cars like today, such as if you put bigger engines in, obviously you need bigger or better brakes to pull them up. Right across the board, there's everything from primary prevention right through to once they've had a crash, what do you do then?
Well, why are Roadwise here at Castrol Motorvation 98?
We're here today. Obviously, there's a huge turnout throughout the weekend. So what a great way to target the audience, let people know that we're out there. If there is a concern or if they've got an idea on how to maybe save their lives or somebody else's life, then they can contact us and we can try and pick it up and follow it through. And you never know, it might go through the whole state or even Australia-wide.
A very impressive display at the front of Castrol Motorvation 98, and I guess a tragic one, a story of woe for some family.
It is. I can personally say I lost my brother last year, and it's a terrible thing to have to lose a loved one or a friend in a motor vehicle crash.
Well, Andrew, you mentioned the phrase "choose your speed, choose your consequences," a very, very important one. Tell us a bit about the background behind that.
The choose your speed, choose your consequences is exactly that. It's telling people choose the speed that you travel at and choose the consequences that happen. The basic emphasis behind that is that every 10 k's an hour that you go faster, it'll take you that extra distance to stop. So if a small child runs out in front of you, or you don't see a red light or a stop sign, or something happens that you're not expecting, then it's going to take you a lot further to stop, and that may be the difference between staying alive and not. You can see from the huge numbers of people that are here over the weekend that there's a big interest in motorsport, in modified cars, and that a lot of these people will be doing their own little car projects by themselves, and it's good to see that all the cars down below have all changed the car design, changed the engine, the gearbox, improved the cars, and they've also looked at the various safety aspects like roll cages, seat belts, extra brakes so they can stop with the extra horsepower, and all of those other safety features have all been considered in the whole picture of changing a car.
So the important message right now from Roadwise, and Roadwise we're going to hear a lot more of over the next 12 months, that message is choose your speed, choose your consequences, and that means you're thinking when you're in your car.
It is. It's extremely important whenever anyone's out on the road, whether it be walking, driving, riding your bike, whatever you're doing, have a think about what you're doing. Don't just go hell for broke. Have a think about what the consequences might be.
Well, another group who take the opportunity to meet Castrol Motorvation spectators and entrants face-to-face at the WA Police, we had the chance to speak with Sergeant Noel de Grasser of the team.
Tell us why the police are involved with drag racing in Western Australia.
Well, it's a pretty popular concept all over the world, but the primary aim is that we're trying to enhance the interaction between the youth and police, and also to try and encourage people to use appropriate venues such as Ravenswood for this type of thing rather than public roads.
Well, that's a good thing. I mean, we hear lots of stories about drag racing happening in the streets, etc. But, you know, if we turn around and we promote a safe environment to race, then it's certainly great to see not only young people involved, but you people involved with them.
That's right. We've had a lot of fun, met a lot of people, and made a lot of new friends down there, for sure.
One of the other things you're promoting is you're getting young people from schools along to help with the crew of the car. One, it's giving them a sense of responsibility about looking after vehicles, etc., but also getting them involved with police activity.
That's right. We've now got a crew of youngsters from the Rockingham Senior High School who work with us now. Each race meeting, they assist with all different aspects of the car, tyre pressures, oil checks, all that sort of thing. And, yeah, it's a great thing. They enjoy it and they're great to work with.
Tell us about the vehicle. We know it's a Holden Statesman, I believe donated by one of the Metropolitan Holden dealers. Tell us a little bit about the engine and who does the prep work on the vehicle with you.
Yeah, well, that's right. The car was a General Motors test car at one stage, and, of course, once they finish with that program, they normally crush them or get rid of them in some form. But, yeah, it was donated to the department. It's been developed by a number of sponsors, Chris Mills Performance, who look after the motor, and, of course, AmCap, who provide a lot of engine parts and stuff like that. There are a number of other sponsors, Pirelli, Mr. Mag in Bayswater. We've had a lot of modifications done to the car. Once again, it's all privately funded. There's no taxpayers' dollars going into this project at all. And we're looking towards a good season.
Of course, Noel, another section of the police force involved here at Castrol Motorvation 98 with the WA Police Road Safety Section with a very, very impressive, and we don't like to see it display out the front.
Well, that's right. The Road Safety Section have done a fantastic job there, and what they're trying to do is just enhance the awareness of just what can happen.
Well, it can happen at any stage, particularly, I guess, when people are fatigued or going on holidays, coming back from holidays in a hurry to get somewhere. And particularly for the younger people that might like to do a bit of racing, there is only one place to do it, and that's on a drag strip.
That's correct, and that's the place to do it. Everybody enjoys that sort of sport, and there has been a tendency for some people to try and utilise public roads for this, and it's not on.
Noel, is this a program that's going to continue the drag racing thing? Has it got the support of the Police Commissioner?
Certainly has, and I'm quite certain it'll continue to. We're very happy with the way it's gone now, especially now with our involvement with the senior high school students. It's a good thing.
Great to see the Western Australian Police getting behind not only drag racing, but behind the students at the various high schools. If you want to do some drag racing, the place to do it, of course, is at Ravenswood Raceway.
And if you really want to show the power of your vehicle and your driving skill like this driver is, you're looking at a very, very high-powered Tirana and a very, very low-speed burnout. And this is perfect in a very controlled environment, Castrol Motorvation.
Next on Castrol Motorvation, we talk to one of the legends of Australian motorsport, Victor Bray.
Motivation 98's everything that 97 was and a little bit more.
Without a doubt, Australia's king of drag racing, Victor Bray.
That's right, Frank. Victor has always made a point of getting very close to his fan base, and by attending events like Castrol Motorvation right across the country, he really does get to meet the people who support him. He's a truly great ambassador, not only for drag racing, but for motorsports in general.
Welcome back to Western Australia, Victor Bray.
Thanks a lot, mate. It's great to be back here. It's like the Motorvation 98's everything that 97 was and a little bit more, and it's just terrific to be back here. WA crowd, all the drag fans seem to come here, and all the car show fans. It's just a great place to be.
Well, you're a tremendously popular man, and this is a tremendously popular place. You've had a look around. Are you impressed with the exhibits you've seen?
Yeah, there's a lot of new stuff here this year. It's fantastic. A lot of new displays and stuff from all the manufacturers over here in WA and around the country, in fact. Some from Melbourne, some are even my sponsors. So it's great to see them all over here. Motorvation's rapidly becoming the icon of the car show sort of scene. I suppose it's new in Australia to have this sort of quality of car, have this sort of quality of display, and have this many people come through it all in the one day, and or 2 or 3 days, I should say. And you know, it's just a good place to be, and it's a good, friendly atmosphere. It's in an excellent facility, and it's even cool while outside it's Western Australia's fine 38 degrees.
Well, fine and 38, but the driving events, I know you were out there with Richie Howlett and you had a good look at those. Lots of action in the driving events. You must have been fairly impressed.
Yeah, the driving events, as at the Summer Nats and down here at Motorvation, are both, like, they're pretty scary standing there. You know, we're judging out there. I mean, these guys, they got control of the cars in a way, but in their own mind they've got control. But it doesn't look like they've got control. And the smoke and they can't see where they're going, and we're standing there, and the engine's revving, and I mean, it's just great. You know, the driving events have become, over the last 2 or 3 years, something that's really stand out is these type of events. Motivation is just the driving events and the car show, the stuff that we see around in here. It's a package, and it's really, don't miss it. It's fantastic.
It's nice to see. We talked with the police department earlier today about their drag racing expectations this year, and it's certainly been good. But it's great to see kids out there in a controlled environment doing those types of things that they like to do rather than on the street.
The program the police have put together and give us an opportunity to actually race the police in a controlled environment is something that, if it was around in my day, I would have taken up the option. But like I say, it just wasn't there. It is there today, and it's just a great place to go. And you know, do a burnout in front of the coppers, and when they flag you down, and nothing goes wrong.
Indeed. Castrol right behind a lot of people across Australia in motor racing. They are great supporters of motor racing across Australia and across the world, and I guess you must be proud to have an association with them.
Oh yeah, Castrol is the motorsport sponsor in the world, in Formula One, in everything, in drag racing in the United States, in Australia, in all forms of motorsport. The Super Team is the biggest sponsored motor team in Australia, all through Europe, every form like motocross, you name it, Castrol's there, and they're there for a reason. They're there to test the technical side of their product, and I do a lot of testing for them, as does Larry Perkins, and in Russell's car and everything, and so do the motocross guys and the pro stock motorbike guys, the guys, boats, everybody. I mean, Castrol are in motorsport for a reason. That's why we do it, and we enjoy doing it for them. It's something that you know, we take great pleasure in doing, and you know, the testing and stuff is just sort of a place so that the products that they put on the market to the general public are race-proven products, and that's what it's all about, is giving the best possible product at the best possible price.
Castrol, of course, like to see you going to all types of events across Australia. This is just one car show that you go to. How does the quality of the vehicles here in Western Australia compare with what you've seen across Australia? Yeah,
we go to car shows. We do about 15, 20 car shows a year. We start at, we do a real big one up in Townsville, the Townsville Auto Spectacular. We do the Summer Nats, we do the Melbourne, Adelaide. We go pretty much all over the country. And the quality here is as good, if not better, than everywhere else. The organisers of Castrol's Motorvation, they have a level that they come in at a high level, you know. I mean, if you want to put your car in here, it has to be good. It has to be in the top, you know, 10, 15% in the country. Just because you live over in Perth, that don't matter, you know. It has to be that level, and they'd rather see a high quality car in here, and you know, rather than see a car here that's like not finished or not up to that quality. I mean, the guys over there, even some of the cars over there doing the burnouts, so I wonder why they spend so much money on paint and then go and burn it all off.
This year's award for the longest distance travelled went to Sydney-sider Lance Warren. He brought his remarkable Mazda Cosmo all the way to the west for local fans to admire.
Well, Lance, obviously you're a long way from home. How did you find out about Castrol Motorvation 98?
Well, that was a bit of an interesting story, actually. I'm involved with computers back home in Sydney. I work for IBM, and a part-time hobby of mine is to design web pages for companies, and also for my own personal hobbies, which is my cars, my JC Cosmo and this Cosmo. And the website's been up for about a year now. A lot of people from all around the world have been looking at it, including people from Western Australia, and I've had people contact me actually and ask me if I'm coming over to this show. I didn't know anything about it, and they've told me all about it, and in fact they organised with the organiser that I should come over, and it all worked out pretty good, and here we are.
Well, it looks very smart from the outside. The paintwork is excellent. The interior is great. But tell us a little bit more about the workings of the engine and the transmission, and of course the differential.
Sure. Well, it's been a big project. It's been about 3 years in the making, and when I decided to start with the project, 20B was a pretty rare engine, and a lot of hard work was involved. But we managed to shoehorn the motor in there, and we had the twin turbos on there because, of course, the 20B came out in the newer model Cosmo, which I have one of those as well. And we had problems with the twin turbos working, and then we had to go to a single turbo. We had problems with the drivetrain. It's got a rebuilt Series 5 RX-7 gearbox in there. It's had about 3 or 4 drive shafts. It's got a really heavy-duty tail shaft now. I've had 4 or 5 differentials in there. The rear end in there now is a custom-fit HSV Senator rear end, and with 308 ratios, very tall IRS independent limited slip. So yeah, it's going well now. I've got a tilt and twin plate racing clutch in there to try and hold the power. I've had it dynoed around 380 horsepower at the wheels.
What type of dollars do you know you've spent without the man hours, of course?
It's over $100,000 now, which is a lot of money, but because of all of the experimentation that was involved in the build, that's why it's been so costly. We've had to try different things, and most things on the car is fabricated.
Good to see. You say it's producing a lot of horsepower. You've had it on a dyno and it's come up very well. Have you ever tried to drag race the car just to see what it'll do down the quarter mile?
Yeah, I have actually, but because of my rear end problems, I never tried it with slicks, proper racing tyres or anything. The best I could do was a 13.3 at 108 mile an hour. So fairly high mile an hour time there, but low quarter mile times because of the wheel spin problem.
Well, Lance, it certainly looks the part. Thanks for taking the time to bring it to Perth, and thanks for talking us here this morning at Castrol Motorvation 98.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Another unusual attraction at this year's Castrol Motorvation was local stuntman, and some may say crazy man, Ray Bowman.
Well, joining me now in the middle of Castrol Motorvation 98 is Ray Bowman, the man who is attempting for the 4th time a world record car jump. Ray, welcome to Castrol Motorvation, and the wrecks in the background tell me that you've been doing some more damage out there.
Well, we sure have. It's like anything. We don't plan to crash, but unfortunately, Frank, when you send the car off a ramp at that speed, that's just what happens when it doesn't go right.
The last attempt at Ravenswood was successful as far as distance and the number of vehicles you had to jump. The unfortunate thing about it, the car got a little bit crossed up on the landing, and it didn't land on all 4 wheels and complete the jump on all 4 wheels, which I believe is a part of the criteria.
It certainly is. See, what we're going for is a world record that is acknowledged by the Guinness Book of Records. They've got rules and regulations, and one of the rules is the car must land in a controllable condition. Now, even though the next attempt in April the 10th is our 4th attempt, in 3 of the attempts we've cleared the distance, but that's the problem, is that we don't land in a controllable condition, and that's the part that is that's the sealer for us.
Now, tell me, there's obviously a lot of geometry and a lot of science goes into this. You've got to get the ramp height right, you've got to get the speed of the vehicle right, and then flying through the air, there must be lots of things going through your mind. How do you go about calculating where and how you're going to do all this?
Well, what it is we've tried using doctors of mathematics, etc., and things like that, simulators, but nothing really matches what actually happens on the day. You can do all the testing, and that's the name of the game. Testing is when you actually send the cars off and actually try them out.
So the previous jumps before you attempt the record jump are actually practice runs to see what the wind is like, what the height of the vehicle is going to be, and what speed you're hitting the ramp at?
If you don't change things, then you end up with the same results, and that's what we've got to do. We've got to find that formula. Once we've found that formula, any front mount motor car would be able to send up the ramp, and we'll tell you exactly where it lands. But all you need to do is change one factor, and that can throw all the other 2 factors out, and they all have to link in at the right time. And the only way you're going to find that is when you get it spot on and when you actually do it in practice.
10th of April sees it happen at Ravenswood International Raceway. How are preparations going?
Yeah, preparation's going really well. It's the first time we've done a show twice in the same venue, which is exciting for us because we know the layout. Ravenswood's absolutely a tremendous venue for not just for us, but for the crowd, because they're so close and they get to enjoy the full impact of the cars, the explosions. We're looking at double the pyrotechnics. techniques. We're bringing in, changing the stunts around. We can hit them a lot faster. We know what to expect and how fast we can hit. So it should be an extremely exciting show.
April the 10th sees it happen at Ravenswood Raceway. That's Good Friday, Ray. All the best.
Thanks very much.
Next on Castrol Motivation 98, Frank Gafero's awesome Pandag Bullet. Always the motor car, the slalom, the go well, and a spear spot.
Every event is over a timed course, and with a controlled course laid out exactly the same every day. After 3 days, we know exactly who was the fastest, and a big slide from the HD as he comes to a halt at the end of the slalom. Now, it's very important that these drivers perform at their absolute optimum, because there's no second chances. They can't come back after day one to go into day two's racing. They have one chance, and one person who really lit the crowd up and lit his tyres up in the slalom event was Alistair McClure in his one-tonner. Perfect control, absolutely well-chosen speed and great control of the vehicle, turning the tyres over the entire course, and the crowd loved it.
Choosing his speed and choosing his consequences, and this man backwards with a big, strong burnout. It's burnout time at Castrol Motivation 98.
Well, everyone loves big black panel vans, not. Morris Hemsley, though, turns the crowd on wholesale. They're really pumped up with this panel van, and he enjoys it enormously. Now, the fellow driving this Holden is an interesting story. This is Phil Rolls, and his mum is rapt that he's in this driving event because it stops him driving her 351 Mustang. A family affair, Motivation 98, and the burnout comp. This is the first time Phil Rolls has made it into the finals, and he was doing his best.
Stu, we mentioned about the control of these vehicles, and it's all in the braking and the way they drive them. Turning the steering with the front brakes locked on. The big Ford. Now, this is a big car, but look, handling very well.
Russell Ladbroke showing us while the back wheels are doing about 180 kilometres per hour. The car is flat out, 5,500 RPM in top gear. The actual vehicle speed is slow. It's around about 10 or 15 kilometres an hour. If the driver allows that vehicle speed to go up, the amount of smoke the vehicle produces goes down. So does the crowd roaring and the crowd appeal. And of course, that is going to kill them in the points. And the man that everyone thought was the king of burnouts in Western Australia, Timmy McClure, a small block Chevy in this Tirana, and it boils the tyres. Unfortunately, Timmy got to the top end of the course. He smoked himself in. The crowd couldn't see him. The cheering stopped for about 20 seconds, and that cost him a lot of points. Tim, though, a fantastic demonstration of precision control of this Holden Tirana.
Last year's winner, Castrol Motivation 97, and there he is, as Stewie said, all fogged in, no one can see him, you can't tell exactly what's happening in there. The Tirana comes out, Tim McClure with a big whip around, throws the car around, well controlled, Timmy McClure.
Well, an absolutely massive crowd, and if you're halfway up the course and half the crowd can't see you, you're only going to get half the crowd recorded noise, because they all go quiet when the car disappears. I think that really hurt Timmy, but it doesn't stop him from enjoying this. He pumps it up.
Oh, he's very road-wise. Road-wise indeed. Choosing his speed and choosing the consequences.
Well, the secret is low speed and total control for maximum points in the burnout competition. Now, here's our winner, Sam Rhodes, and Sam had a look at a few other guys in the competition, and he kept himself right down at the windward end. He stopped himself from getting totally fogged in, remembering that these guys run for 4 and 5 minutes with these V8 engines on about 5,500 RPM in top gear. They'll keep running them until the back wheels explode, the back tyres blow out, and Sam Rhodes had no fear, and the crowd really got turned on.
An awesome Tirana hatch, and this man really knows how to drive it. We saw him on day one. Sam Rhodes is in the finals. He's got to work hard. Timmy McClure at this stage will be leading. But look at the smoke from Sam Rhodes' car, and Stu, don't the big crowd here at Castrol Motivation like it?
Well, Sam knew exactly what to do to get the crowd excited. He drove out of the smoke back and over towards the big grandstand. He made sure they got an excellent view of the vehicle. Around about now, he'd be well aware that he's almost out of tyres, and Sam Rhodes at the top end of the course, into reverse, lights the Tirana up backwards, and that thrilled the crowd enormously, and he made sure that every time he did one of these stunts, there wasn't a big cloud of smoke around him. He let them see the control he has with Tirana.
Well, doing it pretty well at this stage, and this is the reason he's the champ. Wait for the tyre to go bang any second now. And there it goes at the end of that tyre.
Well, the choice of the tyre is very important in the burnout comp. Sam chose tyres with lots and lots of tread for lots and lots of smoke, and it paid off for the Tirana driver. crowd. Get yourself 16 cylinders, 2 superchargers, 4 turbochargers, 3-stage nitrous oxide, make about 2,000 horsepower, run it all on diesel, and you've got the Band-Aid Bullet.
A man named Frank Cafero.
This is awesome. $1,000 worth of truck tyres on the back of this truck, and he is about to burn them up. 3 days in a row, $3,000 worth of tyres, and the Band-Aid Bullet stunned the crowd. He likes to stop and make sure everyone can see him. The consummate professional. Get the smoke out of the way, light up the propane out of the turbos, burn that diesel fume away, and then turn the Band-Aids hard.
Well, great camera angle there as 5.5 tonne of truck is controlled. Stewie, this is what you call choosing your speed and choosing your consequences.
Well, the Band-Aids will last for about 7.5 minutes, Frank has said. His biggest problem is the amount of heat this massive engine generates. He's got a huge radiator in front of the engine under the cowling of the Kenworth, and he packs dry ice around the radiator to cool the bottom half of the core to try to get the engine temperature down. And this is a 40-degree day, and look at him boil the tyres.
Well, he boiled the truck on the first day on Saturday. Set fire to the back end. It was so hot out there on the track.
This is absolutely incredible. It's a show he puts on at many of the circuit races where the trucks run around Australia, and one that people talk about for weeks and weeks afterwards. Anyone who has seen the Band-Aid Bullet perform never ever forgets the treat.
Stewie Bob, what a magnificent Castrol Motorvation 98. I can hardly wait for the next one, Castrol Motorvation 99.
Well, the Band-Aid Bullet, an incredible climax to everyday driving events, and we look forward to seeing Frank Cafero back in Western Australia once again. Next year's Castrol Motorvation 99, it is going to be bigger and better than ever. 3 fantastic days at the Burswood Dome, and we know everyone who came along this year will be there next year. We look forward to seeing everybody else there as well.